From VOA Learning English, this is the Economics Report. The World Bank Group is warning that the West Africa Ebola crisis could severely harm the economies of Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone unless action is taken quickly. World Bank President Jim Yong Kim spoke to reporters recently to discuss the effects of the Ebola spread. He said the economic cost to these countries could grow 8 times by 2015 if the virus continues to spread. Mr. Kim says saving lives and preventing new infections is most important. The bank has released $117 million for an immediate humanitarian response. The World Bank president says the SARS outbreak between 2002 and 2004 showed how a disease could hurt economies. 800 people died from SARS, and the economic losses were estimated to be $40 billion. Mr. Kim says SARS and the H1N1 outbreak of 2009 taught that fear and avoidance resulted in about 90% of the economic losses. That means the disease is causing 2 levels of economic damage. One is from the actual spread of the virus, but the other is caused by fear. The World Bank predicts the losses to the economies of Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea will be a combined $360 million. But estimates show that losses could reach billions of dollars if the Ebola virus spreads widely to other African nations. Mr. Kim says fast action is necessary. He says getting the disease under control is still far away. That is because there are not enough healthcare workers in the affected areas. The World Bank president says the most important issue is to act quickly in order to limit economic losses. For VOA Learning English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Economics Report. Piracy at sea is the act of attacking shipping to steal goods or take payment for the release of hostages. Pirates off the coast of Somalia made news a few years ago. But now, the most dangerous waters for pirate attacks are those of Southeast Asia. The International Maritime Bureau sets guidelines for safety, security, and the environment for the international shipping industry. It released a report on piracy recently. The IMB says more than half of all pirate attacks since the beginning of this year have been in Southeast Asia. Potangal Mukundan is the director of the IMB. He told VOA that armed pirates attack small oil ships in the area about every 2 weeks. The IMB director said small tanker ships moving slowly along Southeast Asian coasts are in danger because they sit low in the water. He said the hijackers approach ships in very fast boats. They take over the ship and then steal part of the cargo, which they can quickly sell locally. Almost 40% of pirate attacks this year have been off the coast of Indonesia. But armed robbery attacks are increasing around Vietnam. In the last 3 months, Vietnamese officials have reported 8 incidents. None have been reported this year near Somalia, however. Officials say pirates are not attacking Somalia because it now has a functioning government, a multinational naval patrol, and anti-piracy measures. For VOA Learning English, I'm Jonathan Evans.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Economics Report. Many people are concerned about signs of weakness in the Chinese economy. They want to know how these changes will affect economic activity in the rest of the world. Falling stock prices have shown that investors are very concerned. Many believe a weak Chinese economy will affect other markets. Recently, China's official manufacturing index fell to its lowest level in 3 years. Leading measures of stock values dropped in East Asia, Europe, and the United States. International Monetary Fund Chief Christine Lagarde spoke in Indonesia. She said, "Rapid changes in stock market prices show concerns that economic uncertainty could spread." She said Asia is very much at the core or center of the global economy, and problems in one Asian market can affect the rest of the world. Asia is not the only area that could be affected. Experts note that China's problems could hurt manufacturing in Germany, Europe's biggest economy. They say that Chinese reform efforts have been uneven and present different problems for China's trading partners. Scott Kennedy is with the Centers for Strategic and International Studies in Washington. He says China's economy is becoming one where services and individual consumption are more important. He says China's economic slowdown is affecting 2 groups of countries. The first group provides raw, unprocessed materials to China. The other group includes countries that are trade competitors of China. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ann Ball.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Economics Report. A Chinese government agency said recently that most of the goods sold on the Chinese website Alibaba are counterfeit. That means the products are not made by the company that is claimed to be the maker. Alibaba has a website that connects buyers with sellers. The company's chief, Jack Ma, says he has solved the dispute with Chinese officials. The Alibaba Group has quickly become a major internet company. Last year, the company raised $25 billion in its IPO or initial public offering. The Chinese company offered stock shares to the public for the first time last September on the New York Stock Exchange. But recently, China's State Administration of Industry and Commerce, SAIC, released a report. It said the company has not done enough to stop the internet sales of illegal goods. Alibaba's executive chairman, Jack Ma, said this was not true. The SAIC report said that Alibaba employees took bribes and permitted salespeople to sell illegal wine, handbags, and other goods without the required permits. It also said an investigation showed that many of the samples on the Taobao retail website were not licensed products. Alibaba runs Taobao. On January 27th, Taobao rejected the study's findings, saying it was unfair. A U.S. law firm recently announced it is taking action against Alibaba. The lawyers said the company did not tell the public about criticism from Chinese regulators before the stock offering. Jack Ma said that the company will be open in its dealings over the legal action. He said the situation should give Western observers a better understanding of Alibaba and China. For VOA Learning English, I'm Jonathan Evans. From VOA Learning English, this is the Economics Report. The Indian government recently called for all unregistered taxi services to halt operations. The order came after the reported rape of a woman by a driver for the company Uber in the capital, New Delhi. Uber uses a mobile app to link drivers and people seeking a ride. A statement from Uber said the company will work with the Indian government to establish clear background checks. The incident has brought attention to the issue of rules for mobile service businesses. The issue has grown more important with the expansion of what is called the sharing economy. Uber has been expanding quickly. The company says it operates in over 200 cities and over 50 countries around the world. Its fast growth has led financial experts to value the company in the billions of dollars. However, Uber's expansion means it is competing with existing taxi services, causing some cities and countries to ban the ride-sharing service. The sharing economy permits individuals to rent things they own, such as a car or room, to people anywhere using mobile apps. Even payment is through an app. The issue is that they are not supervised the way taxi services or hotels are. Critics say they can be unsafe. Uber says on its website that every ride-sharing driver is investigated using a criminal background check. But in the reported case in India, the company is accused of not performing a check of the driver's criminal record. For VOA Learning English, I'm Jonathan Evans.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Economics Report. Today, we tell you more about the effects of falling oil prices. Lower demand for oil and too much supply have sent prices to their lowest levels in 5 years. Recently, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries decided to keep oil production at current levels. Lower oil prices are causing economic hardship in some oil-producing nations. Officials in those countries are exploring ways to cut government spending. The president of Venezuela said that he and other government officials should take pay cuts as part of budget reductions. The Reuters news service says the reductions are meant to answer lost oil income. Reuters says 96% of Venezuela's export earnings come from oil sales. The nation also has among the highest inflation rates in Latin America. Russia, another big oil exporter, is also facing problems. The nation's Economic Development Ministry recently predicted that the Russian economy will shrink by 0.8% in 2015. Russian money has lost about 40% of its value this year compared to the American dollar. Observers have blamed the drop partly on falling profits from oil exports. Economists also say lower oil prices are helping economies in Asia. In a recent report, Fitch Ratings said China and most major Asian economies would effectively earn more money from continued lower oil prices. Thailand spends 15% of its national income on oil. Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia all are moving to reduce oil price supports, which are often a major part of government spending. For VOA Learning English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Economics Report. Leaders of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, recently signed a declaration establishing an economic, political, security, and socio-cultural community. ASEAN is the main political and economic organization for Southeast Asia. Leaders of the group's 10 member states signed the declaration at a meeting in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. That country's Prime Minister, Najib Razak, praised the establishment of the ASEAN Economic Community, or AEC, as a landmark achievement. The organization will be equivalent to the world's 7th largest economy. It is designed to create a highly competitive single market and production area. Organizers hope it will ease the movement of money, goods, investment services, and skilled labor across ASEAN countries. The goal is to make the whole area more competitive and economically successful. But the AEC may have only limited influence on business activity when it begins next year. Experts expect little to change at first because there is much to be done. Some critics say the AEC will mainly help businesses, not the majority of people in Southeast Asia. Earlier this year, the ASEAN Civil Society Conference and People's Forum expressed concern about regional economic integration. In a statement, the group said such a move would mean unequal and unsustainable economic growth. This, it said, would result in worsening poverty and inequalities of wealth. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.